Shut up and sit down.
I heard a story this week about a woman who bought a parrot. Apparently she was lonely and just wanted someone to talk with. Well, one of the parrots in the back room at the store was talking up a storm and they instantly connected. So she asked if she could take that parrot home. She took the parrot home, stared at the parrot for a day. She talked to the bird. The bird said nothing. Next day she goes back to the pet store and she tells the owner, the parrot hasn't said a word. Well, the man at the store said, maybe we need to get a ladder in that cage. Give the parrot something to do. They like to climb and get a little bit of exercise. So the woman bought a ladder, took it home, put it in the cage, and stared at the parrot. Nothing. No talking parrot. The next day she went back to the pet store, told the owner, I tried the ladder, my bird still isn't talking. She said, well, you probably need a swing. Parrots like swings. They like swinging back and forth, and they like to climb ladders. Puts them in a good mood. So the woman bought a swing, took it home in the cage with the ladder, and stared at the parrot. Nothing. No talking parrot. The next day she went back to the pet store owner. She said, I tried the ladder, I tried the swing, but my bird is still not talking. He said, well, you need a mirror. Birds like to look at themselves in the mirror. They like to do little tricks. So the woman bought a mirror, took it home with the ladder, with the swing, now the mirror, and the woman watched the bird watch himself swinging and climbing. But no talking. Nothing. No talking parrot. She goes back to the store owner the next day and she said, that's it. The parrot died. He said, oh, that's terrible. Did the parrot say anything before he died? She said, well, yeah, he did. The parrot asked, don't they sell food down there? Now, if the parrot says I'm hungry, that's kind of a clue. I know all kinds of salespeople who are constantly preparing to sell. They got ladders, they got mirrors, they got swings, they got systems, scripts, statistics, they've got training wheels, they've got role play, they've got walls full of 3x5 Post-its taped up the friendliest paragraphs to handle objections. They've got ducks in a row. They're still perfecting their understanding of the product. Yet they don't have the one thing they need to survive. Yeah, you need courage. Sure, you need education, drive, motivation, thick skin, energy, determination, bravery, and boldness. But you can have all that and lack the ability to connect and never sell anything. Can I help you today? What brought you in today? Are we the first company that you came to for a quote? Tell me what you're looking for in a policy. No. All vanilla. All boring. All bland. Boring. To make connection, we must start with impression. You have about 7 seconds to get this done, or you're going to be digging yourself out of a hole for the rest of the sale. From impression, we move to investigation. This is where we drill down to find what the customer wants and needs. This is finding the why in why people buy. Here we discover people buy feelings, not things. And this is where we're going to spend our time today. Finally, impression, investigation. Number 3, intention. This is the intention stage where we nail connection. And it starts with impression. It built up during investigation, but it gets nailed by intention. You must do and you must not do certain things to nail connection. Now, if you think for one moment that you've established connection without first making a great impression, stopping to build value in yourself during the investigation, you're nuts. It doesn't happen like that. So what are the nuts and bolts of investigation? That's the point of today's lesson. I'm going to suggest to you today that the most important thing you can learn about your prospect when you're trying to sell that sofa, car, computer, security system, insurance policy, whatever, is the idea that it's not what the customer is moving to, but what the customer is coming from. Not what he's moving to, but what he's coming from. Every now and then I run across a newbie, brand new at the sales game. They don't even know what they don't know yet. You remember those days when you were green as grass and too stupid to know what you didn't know. You didn't know how to sell, and you just sold it anyway. Well, here's the advice I give to the newbie. Most salespeople are so consumed with what the prospect is moving to that they never really understand what the prospect is moving from. Let's look at this another way. To put it in the vernacular, every prospect has a backstory. Have you figured that out yet? Do you know why your prospect is there in the first place and what has happened in their life to get them to the point where they're standing in front of you? Do you understand their backstory? Front story, what they're moving to. Backstory, what they're coming from. We are salespeople. We love solving problems. That's why we're so good at sales. The problem is we're always jumping to the solution first, like that magic eraser. But imagine this scenario. The doctor asks, well, what brought you in today? Am I the first doctor you've come to see about your problem? Well, hi, doctor, I'm here because I have a stomachache. I need some stomachache pills. And the doctor replies, well, tell me what you're looking for in a stomachache pill. I can prescribe you anything you want. Now, we're not off to a very good start here, and the word malpractice comes to mind. That's just a stupid analogy. But what is a good physician supposed to do? Well, she's going to prescribe nothing without first asking you questions. We call this the investigation stage in sales. She's going to dig deep to find out what's really going on with your little tummy. When she understands the backstory, she can lead you to a proper solution. Now, salespeople, we want to rush to that solution so much that we never really understand what their problem was. We go into download mode, never really delivering a diagnosis because we've not taken time to investigate the source of the problem. We believe we find a solution, and in reality, it wasn't even part of the problem that the prospect was moving from. So what do? Well, you drop the price, you start conceding, they say it's too high. And you can regroup and reposition and apply all the tricks that you know, but your prospect smells fear and they run. Does everyone have a backstory? I would say assume that they do. Next question, are they willing to share it with you? Only if you've made a good impression. If all you're doing is asking, what are you looking for, without any context concerning what they're coming from, there's no reason for them to want to share their backstory with you in the first place. Did they like you? Did you nail those first 7 seconds in impression? Stop me if you've heard this before. I don't care if people like me, I just wanted to buy from me. It's okay to think like that if you don't know how important liking is to trusting. But once you understand it, you can't think like that. Now, they might buy from you if they do not like you, but they will never buy from you if they do not trust you. So liking leads to trusting. You can't ignore one without the other. Did you know that there's a happy drug in your brain called dopamine? Every prospect you speak with has dopamine in their brain, and so do you. And what happens when you meet someone with whom you really connect? It could be a cocktail party or a wedding reception or a blind date, and right from the very beginning, you just feel it. When you hit those moments, when you feel good about that connection with your prospect, you just know it. You can't define it, you can't always repeat it, but you just feel good. And you're happy and more upbeat to be with this person. Well, that's the dopamine effect. Something is happening inside of your brain when that dopamine is generated in your brain. And when you now like me, something happens going forward. That dopamine, scientifically, in your brain sticks around. It actually stays around even when we're no longer talking with that person. So the mention of your name or your company or you in general are like thoughts of fairy dust. They're happy thoughts that people have about you. It's a permanent feeling that you create in people about you. It's scientifically and biologically true. It can be a permanent feeling created toward our products as well. Tell me about your favorite restaurant. Think about it for just a moment. They treat you so well. It's always a pleasant experience. You and the honey go there all the time. They may even know your name. They always seat you at the best table, not the one closest to the restroom. They have fabric napkins, tablecloths that you can't draw on. Your favorite waiter's working tonight. Everything is perfect. You've got that lift going on. Statistically, what I'm about to tell you is proven to be true. The dopamine in your brain is bounding around in that cranial computer like a baseball at home run derby. Did you know that more often than not, it doesn't matter how the food tastes, you associate taste with the experience? You take that first bite, tell me what happens. It can taste like garbage, and your mind will convince your mouth that it tastes amazing. It's called an associated effect. For lack of a better way of asking this, let me just simply ask. I already like the person, my sales girl, my waiter, my experience. That's the people part of this. But did the leftover dopamine change the way I felt about the product, the filet, the flounder, the vegetable medley? Yes, it did. Because taste takes place in the mind. Now, how can this work for sales producers? That dopamine that is created through that relationship, that connection with that prospect, will carry over in a way that they taste you and your product. So you can build a sense of joy, elation, happiness over you. It will carry over into what you're actually selling. When they think of you, they're happy. When they think about what you brought to them in reference to a product or an idea or a service, they're happy. When they think about having to buy again from you because what they bought last time broke or wore out, they're happy to contact you again. We want to make people happy, don't we? Go back to that restaurant with me. You want to like that experience. You want to love that food. You've been looking forward to eating out all day. You skip lunch. You're hangry. You want everything to be awesome. Same story with your prospects. They want to like the experience. They want to like you. They've had bad experiences. They don't want to have another bad experience. Give them what they like. Give them dopamine and leave some leftover dopamine for the future so that when they think about what you've sold them, they'll come back to you. All right, I got off track just a little bit there, but not a lot. Back on point. The backstory. Suppose you come at this from a different direction. This prospect, listen, I really want to help you today. May I ask you a couple of questions? I just want to make sure I'm pointing you in the right direction. I say, cool, no problem. You say, so let's start here. What got you thinking about buying a new car in the first place? Or what's wrong with the insurance policy that you have right now that has you out shopping for a new policy? Listen, you ask a question like that, that's not bland or boring. That's going to open up all kinds of opportunities to you. It will teach you what the prospect is coming from. That's their backstory. The great Peter Drucker said, my greatest strength as a consultant is that I'm ignorant and I ask a lot of questions. Maybe we can adopt a little of that ignorance, that mindset that says, I must ask more questions, better questions, to fully understand what my prospect is looking for. I can find better what he's looking for when I find better what he's coming from. They all have a backstory. They desperately want to share it with someone. Could it be you? Do you care enough to ask for their backstory? Good lesson. I'll see you in our next episode, team.